Hello and welcome back to Roundtable. This week we are going to be taking a look at the hospitality, tourism, travel, restaurant, eating out industry. After all, this is the industry that depends most on the people. And what use is a service sector when the factor that drives it, the people themselves, are missing? Of course, now that lockdown is over, people have begun to come out, but is it enough? And what are our restaurants? What are our airlines? What are the hotels doing really to face the challenge, to make it sure that the people feel secure and safe enough to come back? And let's get back to a new normal again. Discussing me on the panel today are not just people who are domain experts, but also stakeholders themselves. There is Jangbir Singh. He's the director at Celebi International Airport Services, India. He does the ground handling of 7 airports, including Delhi and Bombay Airport. He also handles the cargo at Delhi Airport and the aerobridges at Delhi and Bombay Airport. In fact, all during lockdown, he's been working handling the cargo facilities. As well, Prashant Pitti. He is the executive director of Ease My Trip. Joining me from the restaurant sector is Navneet Kalra. He is the partner. He's a partner at Town Hall Public Affairs, Mr. Choi, and also the Khan Chacha chain. He also owns the restaurant in DC, Karma the Modern Indian. There's Rakshay Dhariwal. He is the founder and managing director of the Passcode Hospitality Group of cafes and restaurants. He has the PCO, ATM, the Pings Orient Cafe, and Jamun. And finally, we're joined by Raj Sangvi. He's been associated with the hospitality business for the last 8 years. He's also the CEO of Culinary Culture. This is India's first authoritative and independent restaurant rating organization. It's sort of India's answer to the Michelin, I think the Michelin Guide, I would say. He also organizes food events such as culinary events, whether it's food festivals. He also has chefs coming in for pop-up dinners. So that's something I'm going to be asking him about, and also writes for the Business Standard. So Raj, I think your last event was some back in March before lockdown happened. You had some fancy French chef whose name I cannot for the life of me pronounce. After that, what's it been like?
Well, Priya, I think the outlook has been much gloomier than we all expected. I think when the lockdown was announced, there was some hope. I think restaurateurs had looked at the precedent set in other countries. Like in the UK, the government had stepped in and was paying part of the wage bill. I think landlords were ready to renegotiate rents. I think there were also innovative proposals, like, for example, in Soho, which is the restaurant district in London, there was talk about shutting down a couple of streets and allowing restaurants to put tables outdoors to comply with social distancing norms. In India, on the other hand, I don't think we've found a viable solution as yet. I think we've allowed restaurants to reopen, but it's at 50% capacity. I think in addition to this, there's been a 9 p.m. curfew, which doesn't allow many restaurants to open for dinner. And many restaurateurs that I've been talking to say that about 70% of their business used to come from dinner. So I think there's a lot of fear. It's a pretty grim situation right now. Restaurants have already announced that they've shut down permanently. And I think in the months to come, many more restaurants will shut down permanently or not reopen.
How's business been for you? Because your restaurants are open, but a lot of them, I know you have a lot of branches in Khan markets. A lot of restaurants have shut down. So how has the opening up really been for you, Navneet?
So first of all, the opening is a little tough because most of the staff have already gone back to the villages. And it's very tough to manage with less staff. And the fear is already there in the staff as well as the customers. But according to me, I think it's safer to go to a restaurant than going to a chemist store or a general store. Because we have bigger spaces, we can maintain distances, we have a more hygiene level. But business has been only 10 to 15% still.
And do you have, are your takeaway orders doing better than your seating orders?
Not really, because mostly the customers who used to come in, they come for ambience and the food too. So our cuisine is not such that we should take it home and present it, but still we are doing quite okay because dining in customers are not coming in yet because we don't have alcohol to serve. So I think government support is required to extend the deadline to 11 p.m. as well as alcohol to be allowed to serve in the restaurant. Because I think if a customer is eating food or having alcohol, it is the same risk. Whether you have only food or whether you have it with alcohol. So I don't think so. Starting alcohol will have an addition risk for COVID.
Well said. Rakshay, how's it like been for you?
It's been all right. It's been a little demoralizing initially when we heard all the bailout packages and stuff like that, but we're not here to discuss, what the government did or did not do. Now all we can have, I can do is just see, what's the route forward for me. And unfortunately, having to abide by the 9 p.m. curfew, in which case we have to shut the restaurant by 8:15, and then, not being able to serve liquor, that's 70% of our revenue gone right there. So I don't see there being any point in opening up the restaurant. That being said, we have started takeaway home deliveries in Calcutta and in Goa, and both are doing very well. So that leaves me with a lot of encouragement for the Delhi market. That being said, I am nervous because Delhi is much worse off than Calcutta and Goa, So there is that fear. And as Navneet rightfully said, it's very tough trying to convince the staff to come back and work. These guys are in their villages, they're safe, they're fine, they're, with their families. Why on earth would one want to risk their lives to come here and work only if they have to? So that's the same problem that we're facing as well. And I think overall, it's just a really, really tough time for all of us.
So Jagmeet, before this reverse migration of staff can happen, there's also, you also need to bring the people in, the tourists in. Where do we stand on that? I think foreign private airlines are still not allowed. They've pushed back that till July 15th. What does the airport look like these days?
No, I got to tell you, Priya, things have changed dramatically. We've been in operation ever since, all through the pandemic itself, and the flights may have dropped, and Vande Bharat started and everything. So in principle, you've got to understand that I think people are ready to travel. But the point to be noted here is that it's the infection that we are worried about. So, you're hearing things of Maldives opening up. Turkey has just opened up. And once the quarantine issues are resolved on both the sides, you don't want to go on a trip and be stuck somewhere. I think a movement is going to start. The key point being here is infection. And as you may have seen and heard around you, that testing has become quite aggressive, and testing kits are more freely available. Results are coming back even faster. So I believe that we are evolving to a time where what will happen is that you could be tested before going on board a flight and have the result right away. That what will happen is the passage on the aircraft, you'll be, let's say, 95, 98% secure that all passengers are good. And the destination you are arriving would be done too. So I think we are evolving towards that, and that's a pattern I can see emerging. I see a lot of Vande Bharat is a full flight both ways, and that's one of the reasons why. So it's not only pure evacuation. I think tourism will start. As long as we resolve the infection part, and I can see a very positive outlook to it.
The infection part is not happening. One more before I move on to Prashant is, I remember your concerns were, post 9/11 security was paramount. Now suddenly security has taken the backseat to sanitization. Has it taken a backseat? What do you do in terms of, checking the passengers? As you asked me last time, do you pat that passenger down or not? So what is happening in terms of that?
No, so, the evolving ways and methods of, incorporating a different kind of security medium. So security is not being reduced, or the measures of security are not, but they're just being evolved and altered slightly. So, the pat down and just, so the security personnel, there is no interaction. So, we've, at the airports, let's put it this way, we've been working ever through and creating new solutions. And so that's why you will find the airports completely sanitized, and they have a due process, and the protocol in place is quite effective. And the same is for security. The CISF does a great job there. So I'm a lot more, I'm listening to what Navneet and all are saying about the restaurant business. But we've had, let's put it this way, a little more time to evolve our business, our protocols in place. And we are, so if by mid or end of July, I pretty much think you will see some movement of tourism happen between certain bubbles, as we call it, between two countries who have an understanding on quarantine laws.
Okay. Prashant, that's really where you come in. In fact, one of your colleagues, Deep Kalra, the founder of Make My Trip, I used to always pull his leg for his wicked sense of humor. You should call your group Take My Trip. But now I think that's what's happened. How has it been the last month? I think we've been flying for over a month and a half domestic travel. What does it look like?
Correct. See, Priya, basically since last 1 month, we are kind of seeing the new normal. And in the last 1 month, we have seen a static number of passengers flying on daily basis, which is around 30 to 40% of pre-corona times. Our numbers are on the slightly higher side. I think the industry would be at 25%. The reason why I'm saying this is that I think we have gained the market share, being the only Indian company. We are 100% Indian company, and we were kind of trending on the Twitter for that particular reason.
I got commercial break now.
So I think because of that, we probably have eaten some share. However, we are seeing around 30 to 40% of pre-COVID times, and it is pretty static. It is pretty stable since last 1 month. However, we still wonder that is it mostly the people who are traveling back to work or traveling away from work, or is it the tourism? So we did a small survey to figure out what these passengers actually are.
Okay.
We found out only around 10 to 15% of the travel which is happening right now is discretionary. Remaining all is a necessity, which is either related to work or going back to home. So we asked our people to call the people who have booked recently to understand what was the reason of booking, and from there we gathered this data, because we ourselves were a little bit not sure of why these passengers are traveling. Besides this survey, we also conducted survey on our own user base. It was a small user base of about 10,000 travelers to understand that when they would be ready to travel. So we found out 65% of the respondents were willing to travel in the next 3 to 6 months after the lockdown opens, which has already kind of happened. So not necessarily these people were the ones who were waiting for the vaccination to arrive. Only 15% of the people said that they would wait for vaccination to arrive, and only then they will actually venture out. So clearly there is a sign of people having enough of being at home, as we understood.
Okay, Raj, I want to ask you, you before lockdown, you would organize, I was asking you about something called a pop-up dinner. How has business been the last 3 months? Have you had online events? What have you been up to?
I think everybody is trying to do whatever they can and move to an online model, but it's not always possible when it comes to hospitality. Like you said, we did the pop-up in the first week of March, and it was a chef called Mauro Colagreco from the world #1 restaurant, Mirazur in France. And at that time, we were actually convincing him to come to India because we had no cases and lockdown hadn't been announced, and France was in a terrible situation. So I think the tables have turned, and I see Europe opening up again, restaurants abroad are opening up. But I think that Indian restaurants have it pretty bad for the next couple of months.
But in the last 2-3 months, have you been able to manage any online events, or you've seen events like this happening? Should the industry now move more towards, you said food festivals, so now we're going to take all this online?
I think everybody's been trying to do whatever they can. I think there's been a lot of Instagram lives. I think everybody is also getting sick of doing Instagram lives right now. I think another misconception has been with delivery. I think many people expected restaurants to seamlessly transform into delivery-only models, though this has not really happened. All the delivery rates are down. If you look at Zomato and Swiggy, they've laid off people already. So it's been pretty tough. I think if you look at it from a 360-degree perspective, everything has been against the restaurant sector right now.
That is true, Navneet. Nothing has anything really working for you right now, since you are not even interested. You're saying delivery is not really part of your business.
So I think we have to be positive, and things will bounce back, because my restaurant in Washington, D.C., things are looking very positive there. We have got the license to operate outdoors there. So that's the challenge in India. Outdoors have been shut from 2017. So if we get a permission to allow the guests to sit outdoors, I think the business is going to bounce back. So we are just waiting for the government. We are requesting everybody that the outdoor should open up.
I was reading somewhere, Navneet, that there is now going to be a business model where cafe models will become ordering portals. Is that your worst nightmare, really?
I don't think so. Because good places and the customers are sitting at home, they have got really bored. So as soon as we open up, I think the crowd is going to come back.
So far, actually, you've opened up. What are the precautions you're taking apart from the 50% seating? What else? And are customers okay with having their temperature set, giving their phone numbers? Do you ask them for their Aadhaar? What is it called? Arogya Setu. Soon we'll be asking for Aadhaar. I'm not too wrong.
So actually, out of the 10 restaurants that we own and operate, we've only got one of our restaurants in Goa open for dine-in. and that in Goa, most of our seating, about 95% of our seating is outdoors, right? So all we've had to do is basically space the tables out, install in all the hand sanitizers at the different locations, and all the SOPs, the safety and hygiene SOPs. We've implemented all those, and apart from that, of course, no contact menus and contactless payment systems and so on and so forth.
What is the no contact menu? How does that work?
It's a little thing, you just scan it and then your menu pops up on the phone. You have to have a smartphone to operate it. If someone does not have a smartphone, no worries. Our part of our SOPs in the training of the staff can easily recommend what, if you want a chicken dish or if you want lamb or if you want vegetarian, our staff can easily recommend the aviators. Obviously, all our menus we've condensed, and availability of a lot of our international items, stuff like Philadelphia cream cheese, is very tough to come by these days, So, it is available, but at exorbitant rates. So we've had to do a fair bit of re-engineering of our menus and stuff like that. But that's all well and good. It's just that's for Goa. Talking, with respect to even Calcutta and Delhi, dine-in is a far-fetched idea right now. I'm not the landlord where I own this space where, for me, it does not make sense.
Jangveer, you were pretty out to dinner kind of a guy. Have you been out yet?
No, not at all.
What is your main fear?
Main fear, it's the ambience. First is stepping out, and once there's a protocol set, and you step out actually to enjoy that evening and get a drink, maybe listen to some music. But if all of those are clouded by concern for the COVID, it takes it all away. So I think till the restaurant guys figure it out, it's a no-go for us at least.
But to get back to travel, because when do you see foreign airlines coming in? What have you heard?
I think it's pretty
industry buzz.
No, the industry buzz is that it's going to happen. It's just a question of bilateral understandings. Firstly, quarantine is a big issue. So Delhi is already down, and quarantine in India is a state matter. So flights have to have a uniformity if they're coming in from Turkey, but if they're landing in Bombay and if Delhi and the quarantines are different. So they are looking for a uniformity between two countries to begin with. So if we know that let's say if you do land and you have a PCR test and it's a negative and you're clean, that there should be no reason for a quarantine. So I think till that occurs, till there are clarity on quarantine laws which is in talks underways. So I think between two nations, I would say probably by the mid to the end of July, we will have some movement.
Mid to the end of July. No, in fact, I heard that a lot of the airlines are also upset with the Vande Bharat flights because, like United, for instance, has said that you're carrying actually scheduled flights, not charter flights. So if you are bringing people in, let us also come and take passengers. So that's, I think, there is a lot of Vande Bharat.
The question is, Vande Bharat is it put in as a repatriation flight or evacuation flight? So and if you're ferrying passengers both ways and selling tickets, under bilateral agreements, you would look at it as a scheduled flight. So that is the reason why, especially with our bilateral agreements with two nations, where we have a huge diaspora, they also want, because every airline is suffering right now. So any kind of traffic they can pick up any which way will give some breathing space to that airline. So I think that's where this occurs from. You see, this has never happened before. If there was a war, somebody got evacuated, that would last about a week or 5 to 6 days, and you would have your people out from there. But this is an ongoing process, and that's where the airlines are coming back, and that's the thing. There is no prior rule book to this.
Prashant, you had wanted to add something before I interrupted you here.
No issues. I was just saying that there are certain other trends which we are seeing in the industry. For example, as we are a mixture of B2C and B2B companies, the B2B business, which is a travel agent business, is not picking up. we can see the B2C business coming at the 30 to 40%, but the travel agent business is kind of suffering, and also the corporate business. Corporate business is pretty well understandable. Corporates have understood the new norm that the video calling is kind of sufficient for most of the in-person meetings. But the B2B business, which is the travel agent business, seems to be suffering quite a lot. And probably the reason is that the people are worried to get out of their home, and they are adopting the newer technologies, which is booking themselves online.
So is this here to stay? Because, end of the day, you don't go to that meeting just to meet. You go to network, you go to, soak in the ambience, meet other people, then which doesn't really happen on meetings such as this.
Absolutely. So I think
it's a temporary setback, right?
Well, I think it's not just a temporary setback. It could also be the new norm, where if there were 100 meetings which were happening in person earlier, now the corporates would have understood and realized that it's not going to be 100 anymore. It's going to be even after a couple of years, I think probably half of them would be replaced by the digital world in the future. That's what we think.
Raj, if digital world is going to take over, what is the new normal going to be like for you? How you must have figured out a new business model in these 2 months.
I think the situation's evolving every day. I think we have to be flexible, we have to adapt to the current situation. I don't think anybody can decide or predict what's going to happen in the future. I think right now everybody has to be best, and we will have to wait it out in the next few months and see what happens. If some more changes, maybe there's going to be a vaccine, maybe things will improve. But right now, I think it's very hard to predict what the next few months have in store.
One thing, Raj, that you want the government, which I'm going to ask you, Navneet and Rakshay also, is I spoke to what the government has done. What is the one thing you would like the government to do, especially for the hospitality, for the sector, food sector, hospitality sector?
So for the food sector, I think first of all we should get the government to stop giving us the input GST. So which is a huge hit for every restaurateur, because we are paying rentals, and the GST what we pay goes down the drain. So 18% GST which is paid on the rental goes down. So the government should give us the input tax credit. And the other thing, what I think the government should call this as a force measure, so that the fights between what is happening between the landlords and the tenants should stop.
Okay. Rakshay, what should the government do?
I think what Navneet said, input tax credit is the most important thing for our industry. We were, rocked. Our industry was rocked a couple years ago when they took that away from us. That's a lot of money that is just, disappeared into thin air. And it's almost, it was very disheartening for a lot of restaurateurs back then. So one thing that they could do is reinstate input tax credit. They should give us a relaxation on our taxes moving forward. So in terms of the excise duties that we pay, in terms of all, the GST on food and all that, we should get a relaxation on taxes. I think the Ministry of Home Affairs also, they've created these blanket statements saying that, okay, by 9 o'clock, everyone needs to be home, and, no alcohol. Just let's all be reminded that, the RBI published that 10 to 15% of the state's own tax revenue comes from the alcohol sales, comes from excise duties. And which on average, the state's own tax revenue counts for 85 to 90% of the total tax revenue that a state earns.
Fair enough. That argument has been made. Yeah. Quickly, I have to wrap up. Raj, what would you want the government to do?
I think the government has to be a little more transparent. I think there's a lot of confusion between state and center right now. I think the government should be open to taking all stakeholders on the same platform and coming up with solutions together. So I think it's just more of an attitude change, which many other countries have done successfully, and there's no real reason why India cannot do this.
Fair enough. Prashant, what is your wish list?
So,
a short one, but...
Well, the very simple wish list for at least the travel perspective would be to have the same quarantine rules across the states.
Thank
this doesn't
very
make sense
smart.
at all.
Yeah, very sensible. Well put. Jangbir?
Well, I think I don't have any wish list because we've been working with the government for a long time, but I think
you've been doing cargo also, yeah.
Yeah, the cargo, there is a big issue going on with China right now, but in principle, I think people should be looking forward to some kind of secure travel very soon. I'm quite optimistic about it now.
And you've said a wish list. I think that is a universal wish list, global wish list, that is, let's start opening up in a secure manner. But thank you all of you for coming here and putting forward your views. At least we got a perspective of what the industry is really going through. And that's it from us also. Thank you for watching this show.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.